trigger happy and I give less than a fuck. Love me or hate me, I'ma show enough, rip shit up. It's Mr. Nothing, nice on a mic stand. Mic in the left and the zest in my right hand. I took a puff, had enough now, hold up. If that was Indo, niggas getting rolled up.
What's going on, folks? This is Acid Root. So I'm going to review the Drake and Future collaborative mixtape, What a Time to Be Alive. Now, this basically came out in late 2015, and it had a number of big splashes about it just because both Drake and Future were kind of in their prime at this time. They still kind of are now, but they had like a particular crest that they hit around this time where they just continue to be on the upswing from this particular point forward. Like Future, for example, had a couple hit projects like his Monster mixtape, and then Dirty Sprite 2, which dropped in the summer of 2015. And then Drake put out If You're Reading This, It's Too Late, and then this was his second project of 2015. So he was kind of on a high also He was kind of on a high also with his Nothing Was the Same project, just a number of stuff. But this is kind of the collective of the joining of two worlds that previously had never really collaborated that much before. I'm trying to remember if Drake and Future had a collaboration song prior to this. It just seemed kind of random. I want to say it was the song that Future did called Where You At that kind of established like this chemistry that they've had ever since about this time. But yeah, that basically was kind of the concoction here, and you would think on paper this works extremely well because the single that was supportive of this project was called Jumpman, and that's like a tremendous astronomical single, real nice, huge thumper, up-tempo type song. But then I was originally going to review this album back in 2015 in the early days of this channel, but when I couldn't find enough songs that I liked, and I kept waiting for them to put out like a second and third single of this project so I could have more to support it with, but it just never showed up. And that was kind of the thing. So really, Jumpman to this day is the only single that they really pumped out off of this. And I kind of felt like, unfortunately, this album is kind of underwhelming. I mean, that's kind of the thing about it. Depending upon your angle, I mean, it's kind of trap, but it's kind of not. I mean, really, it kind of comes off as just like, really, to me, it just felt like a night at Magic City, which is basically a strip club down in Atlanta or something. It just felt like a night of just going crazy. You know, if you're making it rain, that type of stuff, communicating with strippers, getting drunk, dancing, those kind of vibes, getting some chicken wings, that type of stuff. This kind of felt like an easygoing night at the strip club or a dance club, something in some sort of up-tempo kind of setting. But unfortunately, the energy of this project does not really carry throughout the whole night. I mean, this is only a 40-minute long project for one thing, so 40 minutes worth of entertainment, even if they were all stellar, is not going to carry you from 8 o'clock p.m. to 5 o'clock a.m. or something. So I kind of felt like, to me, the highlight of this project far and away is Jumpman, and that's kind of the concept behind it. But I'll go ahead and talk about the single. So to talk about Jumpman, basically, right immediately, this has a very swarming and kind of just perfectly intoxicating beat. It really feels like Future was still cresting off of his Dirty Sprite 2 days where he was kind of in his druggy and kind of hazy kind of vibe, and then introducing Drake to that kind of concept in the sense of like a first single and like a club setting is kind of what I got from Jumpman. Just an overall bravado song, but this is an example. The title was clever, Michael Jordan Jumpman, to kind of have that. It was original at the time, and it had like a lot of good charm to it, just in the sense of something that should have happened circa late 2015 when club songs, just a good example of a club song that could have worked extremely well, and the energy of it was pretty well matched. But I'm kind of losing my train of thought here, but unfortunately, the context behind this song did not carry over very far. I feel like the bravado of this type song had a lot going for it. I mean, really, it was something that was just inescapable throughout the fall of 2015, and it kind of set off like a pace for like what like trap would eventually kind of become as like more folks started to kind of copy this sort of style. But like I said, it's just short lived. I think it's not so much the weakness of this song as much as just the fact that they cannot follow it up and really struggle to follow it up for that matter. I guess they kind of assumed that like you would just mess with Future and Drake's separate respective catalogs, but considering that they both had enough hits around the time, that would be like the clever idea would just be to get this song and then a handful of other songs by the pair of them. But you would think the house project that has Jumpman would have more to offer, but basically, if I had to guess what the second biggest song off this album was, I'd have to say it's probably Big Rings. It's pretty much not quite as immediate and quite as hypnotic and like first impression wise good as Jumpman, but I feel like it's definitely, as the night continues, I would say that that's like the next song, going from like 8 o'clock p.m. playing Jumpman to maybe like 9:30 or 10 o'clock p.m. playing Big Rings after you've had a few drinks in you and that type stuff. I would have to say that's probably the context towards it. It's just not like the party starter as much as it is. It's already going on, but it just does not have the energy of Jumpman. I would somehow feel about it, and it's kind of, this is probably the second most prolific song on here. I mean, Diamonds Dancing attempts to do it, but it just is way too sleep-inducing. Doesn't quite have the stick and just the overall polish that it probably needed to. There's just not enough songs on here to really do it. Like another song that I want to note on here that kind of had like the Magic City and kind of more strip club type setting was Plastic Bag, or this is kind of a song which doesn't really happen too much, but kind of like the party's almost over song. Like it's 5 o'clock in the morning, it's time to go home, time to go smash, that type stuff. It just kind of feels like they even say in the chorus, like, you know, you deserve these you deserve these bills, you deserve this money, put it in the plastic bag, go home, that type stuff. And it's kind of, I mean, it's interesting to kind of get that setting within that sense, but really this album is just too short for that kind of concept as far as having a whole night. I think a lot of this, the replay value just instantly goes back to Jumpman and in some cases Big Rings, but there's really just not enough. I feel like the type stuff, I think really this was kind of more of a spontaneous type project more so than anything that they mapped out and, you know, had like 3 or 4 months to try to pick these beats and decide what to do. It seems like it really was spur of the moment, like it just happened out of nowhere. But too many of these just don't have the example for it. I mean, Digital Dash, I really was kind of felt like that production on there was awkward and kind of misplaced, didn't really have much. The 40 produced 30 for 30 freestyle by Drake felt like a kind of rehash of Hotline Bling, which was kind of popular around that time. That was the single that Drake was cresting on as he was starting to blow up with his Views project. I mean, it feels like some of these are like coffee induced kind of vibes, like Plastic Bag, and like I want to say maybe one other song, maybe Change Locations or Scholarships. One of those has kind of more of just like a more relaxed and kind of not necessarily strip club, but more just like coffee shop and kind of Hotline Bling type stuff. I mean, that was kind of the vibes I got from it, but you know, I felt like the sheer energy of this project, they definitely needed more songs like Jumpman and Jersey, because Future's solo song on here just had the energy, perfect production on here, perfect energy, felt like Future from his Monster days and some of the better highlights from Dirty Sprite 2. And I definitely would have said, to me, Drake should have been on this song instead of being on like a song like Scholarships or I'm the Plug or Change Locations, that were just some of the weaker and kind of just felt kind of redundant kind of songs. I mean, really, some of the problems I have with this project is just the fact that you question why they even rapped on these. Like, I would think even in a spur of the moment kind of situation, you would think Drake and Future can map out good beats, especially by Metro Boomin, who is basically like a lieutenant to Future, how good of chemistry those two have together. They'd be able to find like 10 or even 20 beats that they could say, let's do something like this. I mean, Future did that with Monster. He did that with 56 Days, 56 Nights, or whatever that project was called. And there's another one he did that with. He dropped like 3 mixtapes across like 2015 and late 2014, and there's nothing anywhere close, despite the fact that Metro Boomin was on the upswing around this time. And 40 doesn't deliver for Drake, and there's just an overall lack. The other producers on here just don't deliver. I feel like they really just got kind of like a C plus or C minus batch of beats that they just tried to put like some hodgepodge lyrics to, and hopefully hook you more with the bravado and spontaneity of it more so than the actual quality. And that's kind of the concept. As I was like, well, I definitely was hooked off Jumpman and possibly Big Rings, and then Future on his own with Jersey, but there's just overall not anything that really shows off the potency that this duo could have wound up having. And it's like, yeah, I guess that about sums it up. But I'm going to give this album or mixtape, me now revealing to you what I liked off of it, me liking 4 songs off 11. I'll go ahead and list them for you. So the 4 songs I recommend to you out of 11 would be Big Rings, Plastic Bag, Jumpman, and Jersey. Those are kind of the ones. And yeah, another thing to note is this is a digital only project. So that's another reason why I held out on this, because I was waiting to kind of get a hold of it and purchase it, but it's digital only. There's no CD, and I don't know if there ever will be. It's strictly you have to buy it online type stuff. So really, the best possible example is just to handpick the songs. I think that's what they're basically hoping that you do, is just handpick the songs that you want. Find, like, obviously go for Jumpman and maybe 1 or 2 other songs, and that's all you really need. I mean, I just can't see most people saying, oh, I want to actually wholesomely purchase this project, because it's not a classic, and it's just very spotty and kind of almost gaudy and lousy, just on top of, I mean, I don't want to say it's lousy, because I do respect like the candor and the hustle that they had, but it's not a wholesome and kind of fulfilling project ultimately, and that's kind of the thing. So I'm going to give this album a 2.5 out of 10. I should almost give it a 3. I'll give it a 3 out of. I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 10, just because it's lackluster, but it does, the gems that are on here actually do have a pretty good portion towards getting things started. It's just that it's not an all-night album. That's kind of what you have to understand. So, Future was on a high, just cresting off of the mixtapes that he classically put out throughout 2015, late 2014, but yeah, it's just kind of, I mean, I was hoping for like some sort of syrupy hooks from Drake like he normally does, like he had on Nothing Was the Same and other projects that he had around 2015 and 2014. But Drake just really was just rapping Drake, which was not quite as melodic, which really could have helped make this project crest even further. But that's kind of the thing. Social score, I'll give a 4 out of 10, just because of the strength of Jumpman, but it didn't have any other singles. I don't know if it had any other music videos. So just to kind of say, it was just relatively brief, and I think these guys wanted you to check out their other projects and just support the overall veneer of everything they were trying to do, more so than this specific project, which is just kind of, I mean, it's charming in light senses, but it's, like I said, it's just not a home run. That's kind of what you have to pay attention to. So yeah, so the Future, it's been touted every time Drake and Future do a song together. They think that What a Time to Be Alive 2 is going to come out, but it just never seems to. Supposedly they're going to do another one of these, and Future just dropped an album back in late April 2022. Drake dropped the project in late 2021, so we'll see what happens. But if they do something again, I would have to hope for the sequel to this, that there's another single like Jumpman, and then like 3 or 4 other songs as good as Jumpman that carry the same tempo and energy. And if they don't have the same tempo, just something clever that is impressive. That's kind of the situation. So there you have it.